Hello, my name is Arthur, and in this video we're going to look at tank shooting. Now, I've already gotten the tank shooting. It can destroy the crate, and, well, we'll just review in this video because I've already done a video for getting the tank shooting. So what we'll do is we'll review the differences. It's essentially the same thing as the first video on tank shooting. So the world map has a shoot function, which is called by the tank. So the bullet is spawned by the map because that way it won't be the bullet won't be a child of the tank and move around with the tank. And it will be a child of the map, that way it will act more like a bullet. So the shoot function is past the shell from the tank, and the position of the muzzle and the direction that the gun is facing in. It instances the bullet, and then it makes the function call to the shell to start. And the start function places the bullet in the proper position and gives it the appropriate linear velocity along the right vector. And then this hasn't changed. If the bullet goes beneath the floor, so if it falls to -10 on Y, it will disappear. And if it comes in, if the area enters something that's in the group breakable, it will make the function call for the breakable to start, which right now is just a crate that explodes on one hit. So on the shell, in the event it's hitting something like a tank or something that takes multiple hit, it would be looking for a body that has method take damage or something like that. But for now, it's only interacting with a crate, so it's just looking for things that are breakable. We can close this up. We don't need this, and we don't need this. So that leaves us in the tank. The tank is pretty much the exact same thing, except now we have a variable can shoot, because the shooting isn't happening by a controller, it's happening automatically because the target is in range. So we have the export pack scene for the shell, and we use an export variable here because that way the script can work for other things, other tank units with different shells. So we can just load the appropriate shell into the export variable. And some of the other variables should probably be export variables, but that's a bridge to cross when we're making other units. So can shoot is to limit the amount of time in between shots. It involves giving a timer. I've made a wait time of 3 seconds and hooked up a timeout. So the timeout, after 3 seconds, the gun can shoot again. And the same thing for shooting, except that it's happening automatic. And that's why we need a timer, because otherwise it would shoot every iteration that it could possibly spawn a bullet at. So when the direction is returned as 0, it means that the turret is facing towards the target on the Y rotational axes. So we do the same thing. We get the position of the muzzle, which is attached to the main gun. The muzzle is a position 3D on this tank. I used a spatial on the other tank, but it's just a position 3D placed on to the muzzle of the main gun. And it's on the main gun because it's the most root place that it can be, so that it will rotate properly in the event that we use elevation on the turret, and it will also rotate with the main turret. So that's why we place it there. And then the only other difference from the previous example of getting the gun to shoot is the orientation of the tank has been changed. The old tank had its gun was facing down bases X. It was facing down the X axis. Now this tank is facing down Z. So the direction it's shooting is determined by the main gun's Z-axis. So the direction is passed as Z instead of X with this gun. And so it starts the shoot timer and can't shoot again until the timer times out. So that about covers it. That's all of the differences between the first example of making a tank shoot and the second example of making a tank shoot. So the primary difference here is this tank is more automated. Because it's automated in the fashion that it is currently, this script would work equally well for an enemy tank. The only difference being the player tank would receive its commands from the user through the mouse control and the world script, whereas a way to give commands to an enemy unit would have to be devised. There's different ways we could go about that. Yeah, so that's about it for shooting for now, and later on we'll look at range and gun elevation. That'll probably come more into play if or when I get the 50 caliber rifle shooting, and that would more or less require some airborne targets kind of idea. But currently with the range of this gun, it's able to hit its target when it's in range, so elevation on the main gun isn't really a factor yet. What I'd be looking at now at this point is getting a camera that can move. So I would guess that the camera would be controlled by WASD keys as the easiest keys for a right-handed person anyways. And maybe maybe also arrow keys to mirror the WASD keys. And yeah, we'd be looking at creating a kind of gimbal for it. I believe there are helpers in Godot for cameras, but we're just going to make a gimbal with a number of spatials. And we'll give the camera the ability to circle the map, perhaps change angles, and come in and out towards the edge of the map and the center of the map. So it would be able to travel in and out. And then we'll look at if the camera needs a physical body to prevent it from going into an obstacle like a building or something like that. And the other thing I'll be looking at is the flags. And perhaps it would be an idea to give the flags a physical form, make them selectable and deletable on right click, so they can be selected and deleted. That's a function I believe that can be added in, and here's the reason why. So when I select a tank, I can give it a destination that's on the map because the ground is in the group map, or the hill was in the group map. So any rigid body that's in the group map, I can plant a flag on and tell the tank to drive towards it. But if I click on the crate, nothing's going to happen. But right now there is a result returning, and I can test that result for if it's a targetable thing, and I can test that result if I give a physical shape to a flag. I can click on it and test the result to find out it's a flag, make it select, and then on right click, have the script recognize it's a flag and delete it. And then because the flag is in a position that is carried in the tank's path array, it would be findable and deletable from that array, so we'd be able to make an editable track for the path of the tank. So if I decided, oh, I don't want them to follow that path anymore, I would be able to select flags and delete them. So that would be a function that I think would be good for this type of navigation idea. Then the other thing that needs to happen is I need to give away to the tank for when it doesn't have a target, but it's moved its turret, for the turret to return to the home position. Because when his target is lost, now his turret is stuck in this position and he'll forever drive around with the turret like that. So yeah, we need a turret home function to get it to match the rotation of the tank body, and that shouldn't be too difficult either. So this is more a review kind of video, and for people who haven't come across the video where we get the first tank shooting, it covers everything to be able to get this tank shooting once you understand the differences between the one unit and the other. So that should be enough to get people able to spawn the bullets and stuff. I still have to put in the muzzle flash. That's already been covered in video, so I don't see a reason to do a video covering that. And we've already done the crate explosion, so we don't really need another video doing that. So that's it for this video. I think in the next video I'll come back with either a camera or a function to edit that path and delete flags, or both. So that'll be in the future videos, and until then, take care.